You're back with us tonight on In Focus. The Southern African Alcohol Policy Alliance has called for stricter rules on liquor trade in South Africa. The liquor lobby group says the government should increase the drinking age limit and ban alcohol advertising following the Enyobeni Tavern tragedy in East London on Sunday. We are now joined by Professor Sue Goldstein, as a board member of the Southern African Alcohol Policy Alliance. Good to have you with us. Good evening, Sue. The suggestion of tougher laws, something that's been suggested even by the former Minister of Social Development. I saw her trying to weigh in on this on Twitter, and immediately the response from a number of those who were on that platform is that there are enough laws in this country. We don't need new laws. Just implement the current ones that are there. There's already an age limit, but we are failing to implement even that. What is new laws going to bring for us?
Thank you very much. Thanks, Thabo, and thanks for having me on the show. I think that's a very good point. Laws and policies are useless if they're not implemented, and I think that's something that we do need to bear in mind. However, I think the World Health Organization and many, many other countries have shown that there's some what we call best buys. So it's they're the cheapest ways of controlling alcohol, if you like. And some of them are that they just automatically enforced. So, for example, banning alcohol advertising and marketing, particularly to young people. That's been shown worldwide to decrease the way that people kind of drinking that young people do and the way that they drink. And so that's one of the things that we could do very easily. Of course, there would be a lot of backlash from many industries, but it's an important step. Another best buy is to increase the tax on alcohol, make it unaffordable. And that's in fact what we did with tobacco. A lot of young people struggle to pay for tobacco because it's so expensive, so they don't smoke. And that's a good thing, right? And then the other thing is restricting availability. So it's not just about raising the age. I mean, raising the age is definitely something that we need to think about. But it's also not having taverns on every corner, not having so many illegal shebeens, so many places that are in where people live. Having available alcohol for young people and older people. I think, Thabo, one of the things I wanted to say is that it's not just young people that are drinking in a dangerous way. It's older people too, adults, us. We the role models of the country. And we know that because about 50% of South Africans do not drink at all.
Yeah.
Yet we consume amongst the highest amount of alcohol in the world. And so the other people that are drinking, the under 50% group, they're the ones who are drinking really in a damaging and dangerous way.
Yeah. So I raised this question with the Tavern Owners Association of the concentration of taverns in a particular radius in the community. And their rebuttal or their hit back is that, well, you must then also look at the concentration of big retail stores that sell liquor, because yes, you might minimize the taverns, but there are other food chains that also got liquor outlets that are within that very same radius. So alcohol will still be made quite available at a cheap price for young people in those areas.
Yeah, and they have got a good point. I don't have a beef with that. I agree with them. We need to cut down on the availability from all avenues, whether it be taverns, illegal shebeens, or whether it be Pick and Pay or any of the other big grocery stores that now sell alcohol. I completely agree with them. Yeah. It shouldn't be available, and it should be very much more controlled, which it isn't. I mean, a colleague of mine a couple of years ago did a study in Mamelodi, and she did a mapping of how many schools there were and how many taverns there were, and it was just unbelievable that there are just hundreds of taverns and very few schools, and the taverns are clustered around the schools. It's really, we've left this problem for far too long. And it always takes something like a huge, very, very sad event like happened recently to make us think a little bit more about what we should be doing.
Do you believe, Sapa, that government learned any particular lessons around enforcement, particularly during the time of COVID-19, and how they address the question of alcohol?
Well, I don't know if they learned any lessons. Let me put it this way. But I mean, during COVID, when alcohol was banned altogether, first of all, there was a lot of argument that there was illicit trade and so on, and that's very possible. But the fact that people weren't allowed out their houses and there was no alcohol meant that trauma centers were empty. And it's just unheard of to have trauma centers on a New Year's Eve or on a Friday night being empty. So there's such a close link. Whether governments learned from that or not, I don't know. I mean, SARP is not arguing to ban alcohol altogether. What we are arguing is that there really needs to be just implementation of laws that are on the books at the moment, like the bill from 2016, which would mean much tighter control of alcohol sales, of advertising, etc.
Yeah. The other argument, Sue, that I'm seeing is that, well, if you're saying raise the limit of the drinking age, what do you mean? I mean, is binge drinking better at 21 than it is at 18? So if binge drinking is bad for you at 16, it's bad for you at any age.
It is bad for you at any age, and it certainly puts you at risk of a whole lot of things. But teenage brains are not yet fully developed. And it's been shown in a number of studies that if you have binge drinking whilst you're a teenager, it can cause permanent damage. It also makes you more likely to become an alcoholic later in life. So it is more dangerous for young people. I think the other reason that we're wanting to look at an older age is it's the message that one sends to young people. This is not a harmless substance. Alcohol is something that's really dangerous and needs to have an adult head on it before it can be consumed safely. So I think that's that reason. And then the third reason is, of course, when you turn 18, you're allowed to drive. And learning to drive at the same time as being suddenly allowed to drink alcohol, those doesn't go together at all well. And ask any insurance company, they don't insure young people, particularly young men. Well, they do, but they charge very, very high premiums.
Now, the other issue then, Sue, around this particular question is the jobs. I remember when they raised the issue with the advertising of cigarettes, right? They said, well, we are a job-scarce country. Unemployment is already sitting quite high in the country. Now, if you begin to affect the marketing, you are killing jobs, you're killing sponsorships of events, and so on and so forth. Was that proven right on the cigarette side, and do you think it will have any impact if we ban the advertising of alcohol?
I believe not. With tobacco, there was a dip. There was a period of a couple of months when there was a dip, and then advertising went back to normal. And what happened at that time was that some other things jumped in. For example, cell phones, which hadn't existed before. So I think there will always be something that will fill the gap, if you like. But the jobs that are lost that are worrying for me and for many of us are the kind of mom and pop places that are unable to, that sell alcohol for a living and put their children through school selling alcohol. And we think that the government should be really looking at reskilling some of these people and getting them to be in another kind of sector that is more safe and productive.
Sue Goldstein, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on, raising these issues with us tonight. She's with the Southern African Alcohol Policy Alliance. She's the board member there.